In India, real estate is still a very traditional business. The real estate fraternity, they've been very successful without being disrupted by technology.
If you could highlight any particular numbers in terms of how big this market is.
A lot of people build it with the mindset that, I'm going to get maybe 10,000, 12,000 users and then sell off this sort of idea and move on to the next one. But with technology, there is so much potential. If you build something that can last, then, there's nothing stopping you from sort of having a, six-figure digit valuation or raising that six-figure digit number.
Anacity is right now catering to residential, commercial, malls, all of them?
Yes, so we do all residential projects. We do commercial projects. In fact, when your team had come to set up here, they had to use Anacity to actually scan through the one BKC building.
Today I feel No Broker, MyGate. I feel in India market, these are the brands performing good in this market. What do you see for Anacity in the future in India market?
If they see that there is value, if there is quality, that's when they're more than happy to pay. So, you're not at that cutthroat competition.
I'm wanting to try to understand the team structure that Anacity has.
So we're a very small team. I think that's the beauty of technology.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Speaking Real Estate podcast. And today with us we have Mr. Aayush Puri, an Indian origin entrepreneur based in Dubai and the visionary founder behind Anacity. Anacity is a prop tech driven community management solution revolutionizing gated communities. So Ayush's academic journey is impressive with a bachelor's degree and different degrees in different foreign boundaries as well. And that is going to be an interesting topic to talk about. After that, before joining and starting his entrepreneurial journey, he gained valuable experience with Mphasis, a Blackstone company as well. And his under his leadership, Anacity has reached quite significant milestones where they are now right now managing more than 40,000 apartments and also have tied up with more than 120 real estate developers. So I'm very glad to host you, Ayush, here on this platform, and I'm sure I'm going to take back a great amount of learnings by the end of this podcast.
Super. Thank you for having me, Krish. Super excited to be here and be part of this series. You're too kind with your words, but I'll try to justify the large introduction that you've given me today.
So, starting off, first, I want to know about your educational journey and how it has influenced you in your career.
Sure. So I started off with my schooling in Mumbai. I went to Jamnabai University School, after which I moved to the US for my undergrad. So I studied at a college called Washington University in St. Louis, completed a degree in econometrics and statistical economics. So St. Louis was a very small town. It is a very small town in Missouri. And that kind of taught me how to live life when everything closes down at 9 p.m. and starts at 6 a.m. And I think that that was really valuable as a young sort of, college grad where you see all your friends attending these frat parties, you see them out at about 5, 6 a.m. Whereas you're waking up at 5, 6 a.m. for, your first day of classes at probably 8 a.m. So I think it was very interesting experience. It taught me a lot about discipline at a very early age, and that's something I really value. And after which, as you mentioned, I got about a year and a half of experience working with Mphasis, which is a Blackstone Group subsidiary. So I worked with them in New York, in Manhattan. And thereafter, sort of the entrepreneurial bug kind of bit me in a good way, and started Anacity based out of Dubai. And to a lot of people's surprise, when Anacity was kind of at its peak, when we were growing at a very accelerated pace, I decided to take a sabbatical, and decided that I wanted to go for my further post grad studies. And so that's when I applied to one college, applied to Harvard, and to my luck, to my surprise, got in. And so I spent some time at Harvard specializing in real estate.
So, about Howard, you were in the middle of forming your company and still are a part of that. And you took a break and moved out of your city and moved to a different city. Were you still like in touch with the whole team members online and were completely involved with the daily operations as well?
So I think we have a very, very strong team in place. So we had some great talent that we brought on, and these are guys who joined me back in 2020. They're still running the business, and we have a very capable team. So I was involved. I wouldn't say day to day, but on a weekly basis, sort of getting updates, and obviously it's your own baby that you've built over the last three and a half years. So I was very invested in it, and very respectfully, because you also have to sort of give your team that autonomy and give your team that independence. But yes, the first sort of 4 months were very crucial when I moved to Boston.
Was that any kind of preparation that you had to do and make sure you do these things rightly before you depart from your place and position and you are starting on a new small phase of your life? So if like anyone is participating in business right now, and many people have this thought that they want to do their masters and have missed upon that chance because they joined the business or haven't got the chance. But if any advice you would want to give them, if you would make sure of these things, then I think so you can still pursue a master's even if you are involved in the business.
I think it's very important to know if you need that further formalization of, for example, for me, it was real estate. A lot of people who are working currently in family businesses or jobs, they already have that exposure. So they've got that sort of, masters as a crash course whilst working with their family business. But for me, it was, I wanted to kind of break the ceiling. I knew that getting sort of inspiration from the people around me it meant a lot. But at the same time, I was kind of bound by that ceiling. And I wanted that experience of going out, actually sort of learning academically what I've learned on a practical experience over the last 4 5 years. And so, to prepare to move out, I really had to find a strong team. And, I had to stop thinking about the perfect moment to kind of, if I only do this deal, or if we reach these number of units, that's when I'm going to move, and that's when I'm going to apply for my degree. So for me, it was, an opportunity cost. I thought, if I'm applying, only applying to this one college. I'm not going to do it as an undergrad where I applied to about 9 10 colleges. It's just going to be this one college, and if I get in, then well and good. But I know that that holds a lot of value, and that is not something that I would look at as an opportunity cost. So we set a strong team in place, and we set mechanisms where we would keep in touch with the team. I had traveled during my December sort of break to Dubai. So there was that sort of ease of transition. It wasn't that, as of August 1st, I'm not going to be involved in the business at all. And that's a very delicate sort of, game that you have to play. It's a very delicate dance, especially with the clients, where you don't say that, okay, I'm going to take a sabbatical and that's it for the next 1 2 years. I'm not going to be part of this. It's just that, you've gone there to sort of grow personally, grow professionally, and you're going to bring back those learnings, and sort of make this, more valuable journey for both your team, your business, as well as your clients.
So we could say that it's no a person doesn't has to make this thought in this mind that whether they have reached a certain milestone while performing their business, that is when they can step out and plan to do certain things. And second thing is that some people might have already gotten that exposure from their business, so there might not be a need to pursue a course at some times for some people as well. So and one thing I want to know if like the few things that you got back from your course in Harvard, which will now help Anacity in the future.
Right. I think the network. So it's a very, very strong network. There were definitely a lot of sink or swim moments. While it's also difficult to go back to college after working for about 5 5.5 years. There were definitely these moments where I kind of learned from my classmates, learned from the professors, the ropes of the real world business. And it's not only constricted to like a community management or to a Dubai. There's a whole new world out there. There are a lot of new innovations that are happening, especially in the US. So there's a lot of harping about AI, about technology, especially within the real estate industry. So I specialize in real estate, and in India, real estate is still a very traditional business. Sort of developers or the real estate fraternity, they've been very successful without being disrupted by technology. But I think now it's not sort of a good to have. It's a need to have, and it's really what the industry, what the country needs to sort of push itself to the next level. And I hope to contribute to that for my learnings, in Boston.
Moving on to your phase where you were working with Emphasis, if you could talk about few learnings of yours in working in that company that has helped you become better.
Sure. So this was probably when I was your age. And my manager was the youngest person prior to my joining, and she was about 29, 30. So you can only imagine the age difference between sort of the senior members of the team. So it was I think it was very difficult to adjust initially. But unfortunately, fortunately, I was thrown into the deep end and kind of learned how to manage things on the go. And I think I learned how to fake it till you make it very well. And I think that's really important when you're starting off in your career. You need to have the confidence. And it really showed me about a 360 of how to handle a business. I was not sort of dedicated to one team. I was working with their tech team, I was working with their product team, working with their business team. So it kind of gave me a really well-rounded understanding of technology. So it's a tech company, but it's a subsidiary of Blackstone, which is a real estate firm. And so it was at that intersection between tech and real estate. And as I said, that's kind of where the entrepreneurial bug bit me, in a good way. And I mean, that's not where I decided to start Anacity, but it sort of pushed that entrepreneurial blood in me and made me want to start something of my own.
So this uh, phase where you had a good intersection between tech and real estate and might have got a thought about building something like Anacity. How did you turn that thought into a reality?
Sure. So that's a very interesting story. A good question. I was working with them in New York, and then I moved with them to India, and they said, "Look, we can't continue paying you in dollars because you're based out of India. We have an office there. So you can move elsewhere where we don't really have a physical presence." And I decided, okay, let me move to Dubai and continue working sort of my about 7 p.m. till 4 a.m. kind of shift. And when I moved to Dubai, initially I was living at a hotel, then a service apartment, then on rent, and then finally we decided to move into our own place. And that sort of settling, resettling, starting again at every apartment community, I realized that there is a lot of chaos, a lot of madness that goes around with it during the move in and the move out process. And not only that, I think those are much larger chunks of the pie. But I remember at one of the communities I was staying, I had a call on a Sunday. And, I wanted to book the conference room in the building. And so I went down, tried opening the conference room. It was locked. Went to the security and said, can I use this conference room? And he said, let me check with the admin. So the admin checked with the property manager, and the property manager then had to send someone to unlock the conference room. And then it was a whole other process to write an email to get the Wi-Fi password. So by then I had had my conference, I had had my lunch, and I had had a nap. And I realized that it can't be this inefficient, to do such a small sort of piece of the puzzle. So you can only imagine how difficult it would be to pay your service charges, pay your rents. It was all done manually through checks. And that's kind of where the idea was born. There was a company in India that was doing this really well. and we said, if we are able to do that and a lot more, because the Dubai government was really supportive. They wanted a lot of technology coming into Dubai. This was about 2020 during peak pandemic. And so that's when we decided, okay, maybe we can really do something with this idea and sort of build an MVP product. And instead of going out into the market, let's go to the Dubai government and let's pitch this to the land department and see what reaction they give.
How did you get this thought about doing this in Dubai rather than doing it in India? And already being aware that your family background has some work in India already done at a good scale.
So when I started Anacity with the team, we were sure that we wanted to make community management smoother. And it's kind of like, I would say, assembling IKEA furniture. So on paper, it looks very straightforward, very easy. But kind of in reality, you're left with extra pieces and you're left with this sheet of instructions that just raises more questions. And I moved about 8 times. So trust me, that's exactly, after you've done the entire setup, you see one screw and you're like, why is this random screw left over? But we just had the idea and the vision that we wanted to make this whole process smoother. I think India was a great market. There was a lot of push for prop tech in India at that point. But it was also a very complicated market. So we have an entire accounting system, which in India with the taxes, the GST, we tried developing it initially, but it seemed a lot more difficult. Sort of the low hanging fruit was Dubai, where we could push on the accounting, on the visitor management, connecting with neighbors. There was that sense of community, and we thought that's the right market, especially with the extreme push of the government on technology. Also in India, there was a company that was doing this, which Anrock, which is our parent company, actually bought over. And they had this platform, and they were doing something on the accounting side. And we said, why not we use this team who has all of the knowledge and use them to kind of build a new product at a very quick pace and sort of deploy this in Dubai, because the company had been there in India. It was doing decent numbers, but we wanted to kind of exponentially grow. And to answer your question, we had a family, we have sort of a business in India. But I just thought that, if I come back at that time, and this is for a lot of the young sort of young people who have family businesses, for you to instantly, join the family business, there's a lot of tailwind. That's the kind of feeling I got. There was a lot of tailwind. If in my head it was that, if I go out there, prove myself, when I possibly move back to India, move back to Mumbai, there might be a lot more there might be a lot more tailwind rather than headwind. And initially, when you join a family business, probably in your early 20s, there is definitely a lot of headwind, because people have been working in the company for about 20-25 years, especially in a group like the one we have, where a lot of people have been there for many years, and they're all professionals. So it's a very professionally run business. There's a lot of skilled labor. And so, your last name really doesn't matter. It's about, if you can prove yourself, if you can go out there and sort of give the confidence to the entire team as to why you should be the leader, because there are multiple other people, in line waiting to be the leader.
Definitely. So, could you explain what are the differences or what are the opportunities in the community management application market in India and Dubai as well?
Sure. So definitely a lot of opportunities. I mean, you can see this with the number of competitors that have come up. So there is just so many competitors, because people have realized that it's not a good to have. It's a need to have. It's a requirement of the hour, and which is a good thing. So there's a lot of healthy competition. But it's the same in the smartphone industry. There's a lot of smartphones, but not everyone survives the drop test. And I'm glad that we did. And so I think it's a very complex industry. It's fairly newer, so there's a lot of innovation that can take place. A lot of stuff on AI that people can work on preventive maintenance, not reactive maintenance. Sort of, you kind of get an update as to when your lease is expiring, when the next repair is due. And there's just so much opportunity in this space in India as well as in Dubai. And there's a lot of new competitors that have come up who are doing this really, really well as well. So it's a good market to be in. It's a good place to be in right now, and people have realized the value of this technology. I think even when we were building our platform, I we had one as the business team, we had one instruction to the tech team saying that we want to build a platform that is easy for sort of my 80-year-old grandmother to use as well, who by the way is very tech savvy. She's on Instagram, she's on Facebook, but at the same time we wanted it to be very easy for them to use. And I think that's kind of the challenge when you build tech. It becomes overly complex because there's so much you can do. But I love the way WhatsApp is built. There's only two functionalities, voice call, video call, or then messaging. And it's so easy. You don't want to open an app and look at it as homework that, okay, I have to go here to sort of pay my bills, have to go here to raise complaints. It should be very, very easy in terms of the UI UX. And I think that's where the major challenge is, which is the UI UX, the functionality, and the ease of use for this app. Because the people constructing it, they're very, very intelligent. They're very smart people. And so they want to put all of this onto the application, but the people using it possibly don't have a tech background, right? So all of this seems like a lot of jargon to them.
If you could highlight any particular numbers in terms of how big this market is.
So honestly, for this market, there is no, it's not a finite market, it's infinite. So we do, in this industry, you can cater to residential buildings, you can cater to commercial buildings, you can do malls. Essentially, the retailers in each malls can pay sort of their service charges through an application. So there is no particular finite, limited pool that you have to access. It's also B2B2C. So, at the end of the day, it's in every second person's hand. They're using the app to maybe chat with their neighbors, sell their furniture, let people into their apartment building. And so it's an extremely large opportunity, both in India and Dubai. In Dubai, I think it's about 700,000 apartments, which is the sort of the number of apartments that's built in the entire city. And nothing really stops you from going to these developers, going to the property management companies, and saying, why don't you, instead of doing this manually on paper, uh, try to digitize this entire process.
Now, talking about developing an app, in today's world, every day new apps are coming up, and it feels like it might be very easy to create an app. And you being the founder of an app and technology, how could you highlight like and actually say, is that easy to make an app if someone has a thought of something? Could they make it a reality in the next few weeks possible, or it actually takes time today as well, depending on the complexity of the app?
I think it's fairly easier now to make an app, but if you're going to build something, make sure it lasts. When we were building the app, the tech team and I would not see eye to eye. So my product manager Akshay and I would not see eye to eye, because it had been about 8 months that Krishna and I, who was working in sales, was selling tech on deck. So essentially, we were just selling the presentation. And the tech team used to keep saying, we're trying to sort of build this. It's going to take time. We want to make the foundation strong. And at that time, I didn't really understand this. I saw many apps coming into the market. For every second thing, you had an app. You could go and download it, use it. But eventually, kind of after 2 years, 2 3 years, that's when I realized that the foundation is so strong that the app doesn't crash. Obviously there are bugs on the application. Obviously, the application keeps going through some downtime, keeps going through some new developments, but we've never had a case where there's been a security lapse, or the app has failed to ceased to exist or stopped working. And I think that's what the challenging part is. You can quickly build an app, you can go and start selling it, but a lot of people build it with the mindset that I'm going to get maybe 10,000, 12,000 users and then sell off this sort of idea and move on to the next one. But with technology, there is so much potential. If you build something that can last, then there's nothing stopping you from sort of having a six figure digit valuation or raising that six figure digit number.
Talking about competitors, today I feel no broker, MyGate. I feel in India market these are the uh, brands performing good in this market. How do you see them, and what do you see for Anacity in the future in India market?
So, we love having competitors because they always push us to innovate more. And as I said, there are a lot of competitors in this market. I said this earlier, it's a smartphone market. Um, as you might have seen, not all of the smartphones have survived the drop test. I think we have, and that's put us in a really sort of a forefront with our end customers. So I mean, you can't ignore the potential that this market has, and we're excited that a lot of people are tapping into this market. Obviously, India as a market is a lot more complex, but the pool is also so large. There are so many people that want smarter solutions in tier one, tier two cities, and I think we are at the right time. We are at the right place at the right time. So the market is just so huge that having competitors is good. It's healthy. It helps you innovate more. But at the same time, you're not having that sort of cutthroat competition. You've sort of pulled yourself out from that. And we're only selling to people who see the value in this. So if they see that there is value, if there is quality, that's when they're more than happy to pay. So you're not at that cutthroat competition. If people see the value in the product, if they see that yes, it's along the way it's reducing a few headaches that I have, then why not go ahead and pay for this particular product?
Anacity is right now catering to residential, commercial, malls, all of them.
Yes, so we do all residential projects. We do commercial projects. In fact, when your team had come to set up here, they had to use Anacity to actually scan through the one BKC building, and that's Anacity as well. This is actually our first commercial project. So we've now started catering to commercial projects as well. We also have one test pilot that we've done in Rotterdam, actually in Netherlands, which is a commercial project again.
So, moving on to Dubai again, where you have partnered with various real estate developers. If you could tell us, how did you partner with such a huge number of developers?
So it was obviously very challenging initially, especially because I was a young entrepreneur. So people would look at me, not really have the confidence. I think the first 6 months was extremely challenging. Um, I knew that no matter where I was, if community management was a challenge and people saw that it's a challenge, it's more. I mean, that's what they look at. They don't really look at sort of your skill set, your age, what's your experience. They look at the product that you've made, and if there is value in the product, they would be more than happy to use it. And if you can give them the confidence that this is not something that you're going to sell them today and run out tomorrow off the market, then and that you're there for the long term, there to partner with them, and actually using that. Being young is an advantage because it brings a lot of new innovation, sort of a different mindset of thinking. And if you're able to convince people on that, that's when it kind of helps you cement yourself in the market. So bringing on those initial, two or three developers was very, very difficult. And I'm really grateful that some of them gave us that opportunity with, we had zero experience, we had zero clients. We probably just had a barely functional tech piece at that point, and allowed us to learn with them on the platform, sharing feedback with us on a daily basis. I think we probably sat in maybe 100, 200 feedback sessions. So not sales sessions, just feedback sessions where we went out to all the developers, tried to have them download the app in front of us, use the app. A lot of them didn't do it. They didn't see the value in it. But today, the same developers are calling us up and saying, maybe can you impanel this in our projects? And here's some feedback that I think that you can innovate on.
You have been working on different boundaries in different countries, and you plan to enter the European market as well, if I'm not wrong. How does your team function? Are there team members out there on ground on each of these destinations and going out, doing out meetings with various people? I'm wanting to try to understand the team structure that Anacity has.
Sure. So we're a very small team. I think that's the beauty of technology. You don't need 100 team manpower. We're probably about 10 people in business development, customer support, sales. So very, very small team, but extremely talented individuals that are present in the team. We also try working a lot with channel partners. So, I wouldn't advise going into a new market and then having your own office set up and pumping in about 4 5 people in there for sales. I think having a channel partner who's already present in that geography, maybe doing a revenue share with them, that's what actually gives you an understanding of the local market. They are the feet on street. You can pick up somebody from a Dubai and put them in Europe. You can have somebody from India travel to Europe. But it's very different for somebody who's born, brought up in Europe, seen the challenges on a daily basis. Because that's when they share that feedback with your team. That's where they share the feedback with your tech team. And you're able to actually kind of understand the problem and give a solution which is there for the long term. So a lot of times what we've done in markets where we've tried to sort of enter with our own guys based out of Dubai, have them travel. Um, it's been slightly challenging because we build a product and then when we actually go and pitch it to the developer, after a couple of months we realize, yeah, that's not the requirement anymore. The requirements changed and people don't want sort of to write a complaint onto the application and send it across to the property manager. They just in Oman, they just want to click a picture of the complaint and sort of click a picture of the electrical fitting and send it across. So I think it's very important to maybe work with channel partners first, understand the market, understand who your clients are. They in fact act as clients in themselves. So understand that, and then only move into the market once you've got the confidence of get some revenue into the market. You don't have to break even. You don't have to be profitable. You just see that yes, there is potential in that market. You see that yes, this is a country or this is a city where community management is a challenge and people face this across the entire city. And that's when you don't ignore the potential and say, yes, I'm excited now to tap into this. And I'm going to put my team on ground, and I'm okay bearing that overhead cost.
Understood. Talking about the unit economics of the whole application, if you would say if you had to onboard a residential client, how much would that charge to that client, maybe on monthly or annual basis? Similarly for commercial building or maybe for a mall.
Sure. So we're not a one size fits all. So we don't have one rigid pricing structure. We're very flexible in the sense that we would build to your requirement. So if it's a sort of 100 unit building, we're not going to give you the same solution that we gave a 2,000 unit project, right? So it we're very customizable in that sense, and I think that's actually one of our uniqueness. And so our pricing model is per unit per year. We also have a one-time maintenance sort of a setup cost. And yes, it totally depends on the size of your project, which features you'd like to utilize. Do you want to go with sort of a vanilla package? Do you want to have your residential community connected with all of the retail units close to your apartment building? Do you want to order from the Starbucks on the app itself, which is maybe 500 meters from your apartment building? So it depends on the size and scale you want us to develop for you. Um, with regards to the platform is we can move into a new city within a week's time. So it's all from the motherboard, from the foundation level. It's very customizable. So the currency, the time zone, everything changes automatically. It adjusts when you move into a new geography. And with clients, it's about 5 days where we set up and train, and then yes, they are open to use it from the second week onwards.
If we would take a building, residential building having like 100 flats and it's a gated community, how much would that cost for a year and maybe in terms of per apartment?
Sure. So it can vary between about 2.5 to 5 dirhams annually. sorry, per unit per year. So we would charge on a per year basis, not a monthly basis. So it's kind of like a subscription fee. You just go on the App Store and subscribe to it. And essentially, yes, if it's a 100 unit building, which very vanilla product, then that's what it is. And maybe if they don't want to use sort of booking the gym facility, or they don't want to sort of book their meeting rooms, chat with their neighbors, then we can also reduce the cost accordingly.
How do you maintain a continuous innovative environment for your application and make sure that you have the latest features on, or maybe what keeps you keeping on and bringing on new things into it?
So obviously having competition makes you want to innovate more and more. Thinking about the long-term impact, so we definitely want to leave a legacy of smarter, more connected communities. And the idea for us is not that we just fix a problem. We want to identify a problem before it occurs. So we want to help prevent these problems. And we're hoping that we make life easier for some people and maybe save a few headaches along the way. So yes, the tech team is always meeting with clients. So we don't keep the tech team at the back end. They're actually front facing. So they go meet with clients, have these interactions once a month. It's mandatory for them to interact with clients. We have a customer success team, which reaches out to clients, to potential clients as well, to understand what their what their requirements are, what's going well, which features they do not use. What their impressions have been on the application, on certain features, and why they aren't using those features, trying to sort of understand that. Or then maybe it's a training issue, maybe it's not a UI/UX tech issue, and then kind of pushing those features. And somehow something comes up in those meetings, and people say, look, this is very difficult to use, it's a 5-step process, can you make it a 2-step process? So then we try pushing a 3-step process, and that's kind of how we usually innovate along the way.
That's nice. Moving on to last part, you are a young entrepreneur and do inspire a lot of young people. If you would want to give any advice to any young guy who would want to enter the prop tech space, what would that be?
Honestly, I'm also a young entrepreneur, so I'm still figuring it out. So you've been on so many podcasts, you've interviewed so many experienced people. So if you have any advice, I'd love to hear it. But I think the best advice I can give is just jump in. A lot of people say don't wait for the perfect moment. I would say you can learn as you go. It's very important to have a mentor that kind of saves you the first 2 years of learning it on your own. They give you a lot of direction. It's like, when you go bowling and there are those rails on the side. So you don't actually end up in the gutter. It kind of, yes, you don't go in a straight one line path, but it's also beautiful to go in a zigzag. But at least you won't land up in the gutter if you have a mentor, and if you have someone who you can work with, possibly a co founder or a partner. But if you're just starting out, try getting 1 or 2 years of experience working in a corporate, because then you know what works, what doesn't work. And after that, don't wait for the perfect moment. So after that, just learn as you go, jump in, get a mentor. You can join a lot of these young entrepreneur communities. You can speak to a lot of experienced people. Starting something like you did, I think you're in the perfect place to actually go ahead and start a different venture as well. And I think for a lot of young entrepreneurs, that's what it is. You just have to go out, network, speak to people, join some WhatsApp groups. It's very uncomfortable going into a room where you don't know anyone. But if you think about it, nobody in that room knows anyone else either. So yeah, the first couple of minutes would be slightly awkward when you go interrupt somebody's conversation and say, hi, I'm Ayush, and I would like to introduce myself. But after that, if you've clicked with them on something, then you've forgotten about the first 3 seconds of awkwardness, and possibly you found your co-founder right there.
What you really said really inspires overall in doing something different. Apart from a family business, how you have also like went out and made your own um, business, even though you had a good family business background. talking about the whole podcast. It was a great session starting to listen about how you have pursued your education and how that has shaped you as a person, how you had a good experience in working with Mphasis, a Blackstone subsidiary, moving on to you starting your own entrepreneurial journey. And you have quite reached a milestone and is something to look up to. So it really sums up a lot of things. And I do take back a lot of learnings from this podcast. And thank you for your time and this whole session.
Thanks again for having me, Krish. It's when you talk about it, that's kind of when you reflect and you see how the pieces of the puzzle kind of sit in place. Um, Being in St. Louis, studying econometrics, or I studied statistical economics, and I really didn't think that many years down the line I would be in this room talking about transforming gated communities. But I guess when you take it one step at a time, when you solve one neighbor's complaint or solve one parking lot issue digitally, you end up transforming the whole system. And um, I think it's always good to be a horse with blinders on. So, you're not too distracted by everything around you and you're kind of focused on the goal initially. And then you can take off those blinders. So, it's been a very, very interesting experience. Having a mentor, Shajai Jacob, who's my mentor, he really helped us push the boundaries of community management with Anacity. And having a strong team really makes the journey. I mean, it doesn't feel like work. And I'm sure a lot of people have said this, that going into the office every day, if it doesn't feel like work, that's the beauty of it. Um, it definitely, some days it feels like a lot of work. But I think eventually down the line, once you've sort of reached one milestone, you kind of make your dream board and then work towards the next milestone. And I think that's always usually what's kept me going. So yeah, very excited that we recorded this today, and thanks for having me again. And I wish you best of luck for the series of your podcast.
Thank you so much, and definitely looking forward to meeting soon in person.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think we've been playing a lot of hide and seek, and it's
Yeah,
about time that we meet up in Bombay. So yeah, looking
definitely.
forward to meeting you in Mumbai, and take care. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.